rental assistance payments, and union leaders say hundreds of TSA workers are already off the job because they can't afford to get to work. President Trump thinks the border is worth all of that?
Look, the president certainly doesn't want any of those things to happen. But you know what else he doesn't want to see happen? He never wants to make a phone call like the one he made earlier this week where he spoke to Officer Singh of California's widow because an illegal immigrant came across our border and killed him in cold blood. That shouldn't happen in this country, particularly when we have things that we know can help prevent it. Every life, that's what sets America apart from every other country. We value life. It's what makes us unique. And the day that we stop doing that, even if it's 1, 10, or 100,000, that's when we stop being the greatest country on the face of this earth. Not only people like that, but we also have a massive influx of drugs that come across the southern border. 90% of the heroin that comes into this country comes across through the southern border, and 300 Americans are killed from that every single month. Let's have to look at it across the board.
Let's talk about the wall, because there is no question that there has been a big spike in the number of family units coming across the border. The president talks about terrorists potentially coming across the border. And here is Secretary of Homeland Security Nielsen. Take a look.
CBP has stopped over 3,000 what we call special interest aliens trying to come into the country on the southern border. Those are aliens who the intel community has identified are of concern.
But special interest aliens are just people who come from countries that have ever produced a terrorist. They're not terrorists themselves, and the State Department says that there is, quote, their words, no credible evidence of any terrorists coming across the border from Mexico.
We know that roughly nearly 4,000 known or suspected terrorists come into our country illegally, and we know that our most vulnerable point of entry is at our southern border.
I know this statistic. I didn't know if you were going to use it, but I studied up on this. Do you know where those 4,000 people come, or where they're captured? Airports.
Not always, but
airports.
Certainly a large number.
The State Department says there hasn't been any terrorists that they found coming across the southern border from Mexico.
It's by air, it's by land, and it's by sea. It's all of the above. But one thing that you're forgetting is that the most vulnerable point of entry that we have into this country is our southern border, and we have to protect it. And the more and more that individuals
they're not coming across the southern border, Sarah. They're coming, and they're being stopped at airports.
They're coming in a number of ways. They're certainly, I'm not disagreeing with you that they're coming through airports. I'm saying that they come by air, by land, and by sea. And the more and more that our border becomes vulnerable, and the less and less that we spend time and money protecting it, the more that we're going to have an influx, not just of terrorists, but of human traffickers, drug inflow, and people that are coming here to do American citizens harm.
Okay. The president now says, and this was a revelation on Friday, that he can go around Congress and build this wall on his own. Take a look.
We can call a national emergency because of the security of our country. Absolutely. No, we can do it. I haven't done it. I may do it. I may do it. But we can call a national emergency and build it very quickly.
How serious is he about that? Has the White House drafted an emergency order, a resolution that he could announce tomorrow? We're declaring a national emergency. We're going to build the wall. Has he set a deadline for when he's going to end talks and simply say, I'm going to go off on my own and do it? And is he really prepared?
It's a lot of questions.
Well, three. Is he really prepared? It's all the same question, which is how serious is he? Is he really prepared to go off on his own and use money that was authorized for military construction and build a wall instead?
The president is prepared to do what it takes to protect our borders, to protect the people of this country. He knows that the number one job he has as president and commander-in-chief is to protect its citizens. And if he doesn't take that seriously, whether it's southern border or whether it's from terrorists coming from whatever way they come or any other place that
really
people come to do harm to Americans, then he is not going to be the president that he knows himself to be.
And does he really, just quickly, does he really think that he has the authority to build the wall with funds that were appropriated for the military construction without congressional approval?
As we've said for the last several weeks, we're looking and exploring every option available that the president has.
And is that a viable option?
Whatever action he takes will certainly be lawful, and we're looking at every option we can. This is something the president takes incredibly seriously, is very passionate about, and is not going to stop until he figures out the best way to make sure we're doing everything we can to make America safer and more secure.
I got less than a minute left. President Trump is at Camp David today to meet with White House senior officials about his priorities for 2019. What can you tell us about the meeting and about what his agenda is?
We've had an incredible first 2 years under the President Trump. The economy is strong. ISIS has been on the run. The judiciary is being made. We have just a number of successes over these first 2 years. We want to look at how we're going to continue to build on those as we move into 2020.
Top priority?
I think the president's got a lot. Immigration certainly has to be at the forefront right now. That's one of the biggest things that we have to get done, is securing our border, but not just securing the border, but fixing the immigration system as a whole. It's completely broken. The president wants to make sure we look at all of the different things, loopholes that we can close to make that better. Infrastructure, fighting the opioid crisis. Those are going to be things that also not only are the president's big priorities, but things we think we might be able to get Democrats to actually work with us. The American people elected them to come here and do more than just fight the president, and we hope that they'll fulfill their constituents' hopes for them and doing exactly that.
Sarah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in today. Always good to talk with you.
Always great to be here.
Up next, reaction from a top House Democrat.